Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. I'm James McGowan.
I'm Jessica Faust.
And today we are talking about the 6 things a writer should do before they send any requested material to a literary agent. So
I always like our random numbers.
Yes, we just pick a number. Like, okay, well, this is what we got, so we're stopping there. So for those of you who aren't aware, when you're trying to get representation from a literary agent, you will send a query letter. That's basically the cover letter for your book. It'll tell the agent about what your book is, where it fits on shelves, and who you are. If an agent is then interested, they will send a request along and ask for more material. So in nonfiction, it would be a proposal. In fiction, for most age groups, it would be the full manuscript. And in picture books, it's usually 2 to 3 additional manuscripts in addition to the one that you've sent.
I'm sorry.
No.
Although this isn't on our list, what I would do when you're querying is have all of this material ready to go. Have your nonfiction proposal ready to go. And if you're writing, I'm going to use adult fiction as an example, but YA and middle grade would be the same. I would have both the full manuscript and a synopsis ready. And I would have the first 50 pages or so, which ended at a chapter, like, whatever chapter ends around the 50-page mark, and at the end of that chapter, for those agents who prefer to request a partial instead of a full.
Yeah, and I think even keep in mind you shouldn't be querying unless you have those things final.
Absolutely.
So a lot of writers ask, can they query something that's not done? You shouldn't, because when you get a request, you don't have anything to send. So you should definitely make sure before you send that query out for your book that it's final. Okay, so let's just get started with our list. The first thing I think you should do, obviously, if you're like me and you are anxiety ridden over a request, you want to read through your work. You want to make sure that it's the final draft to begin with, because we all have drafts on our computer that are not final.
Yes.
Yeah, so make sure that the project that you're sending, this draft that you're working off of, is your final draft.
Yeah, and really, feel good about it. I think the read through is both to make sure that you're sending your final draft, but also then that you're confident and you don't sort of panic later. It's too late, really, once you've already sent it, to then read through it. And it happens. It does happen, but you're better off giving it that read through, feeling good about what you're sending, so that you can then move on to be writing your next book and let the agent worry about reading that one that you just submitted.
Right, and like you said, we're both relentlessly optimistic, so I think it is a good way to, like you said, get confident and feel optimistic. Like, okay, I love this, it's going out, and here we go, it's out there, we'll see where it goes. So it is a good way to sort of get excited about it again.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm jumping around our list a little bit.
I like that.
I think the second one is, when you're doing that read through, is to make sure you're looking at format. So you want to make sure that it's in a presentable manner. Is it in like a Times New Roman or very easy to read font? Is it a good font size? Are your chapters starting on new pages? Things like that. Is it a neat presentation of your book?
Yeah, I would say double spaced.
Yes.
Either make sure your paragraphs are all indented, or you are doing, twice as many spaces, which I guess 2 times, between paragraphs. Definitely a readable font. Times New Roman is usually a safe one, Helvetica, whatever it is. And it has to be at a size that at about 100 or 125% on the computer is easy to read. So 12 point to me is usually safe, depending on the font. Some run a little bit bigger, some run a little bit smaller, but that's a good safe place. A lot of agents will read on their computer. And if you open and it's this curly Q font and it's really small and I need to resize, or even worse, reformat, you're losing me already. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's important to know that format really does play a part in the reading experience. So I kind of have this soapbox for picture books too. Like, you can really play with pacing and things like that and tone with your format. But especially in a novel, like if it's single spaced, it might feel harder for me to read. And that's in my mindset. Like, it feels like the book is harder for me to read. So it's like mind tricks sort of, but it's good to note when you're ready to send it to an agent that giving it the most basic preferred format is giving them sort of like the foundation they need to just jump into your book.
Yeah, and I also think that this works for readers too. I mean, actually, just about a week ago, I got a text message from Kim that was a picture of the book she was reading, the published book she was reading. And she said, "Is it just me, or is this font and spacing on this ridiculously small?" So, I mean, readers have the same feeling. I mean, I think that there have been times when all of us have picked up a book and opened it up and thought, that is way too small.
I did it at the office the other day. I was like, oh, my mom would love this book. And then I looked at it, I was like, my mom would hate this book because she won't be able to see it.
Right. No, totally. So, keep in mind that we are readers first, and how you present that is all of the reading experience.
Agreed. So our third one, I would say, is to make sure, this kind of goes in line with, that read through, making sure you're sending the right manuscript, but removing any track changes. So there should be
comments. And comments.
Yes, track changes and comments. This is my pet peeve when I open it up and I see all of like your critique partners' comments. And not a pet peeve where like I would reject over it, because I typically don't. I just like accept all and delete and keep going. But I think it shows, it gives a part of your process that might leave a lot to be desired. Like maybe I really liked one of your critique partners' opinions and you didn't incorporate it. And I think it also shows a level of professionalism when it's your final manuscript and it's completely clean.
And again, if I open it and track changes or comments are still in there, I think it's not done.
Right.
So even if it is done and it's great, there's this niggling part of me that feels like I didn't actually see the final book.
Right. Yeah.
So you don't want to, and that, that happens too sometimes. I have to be very careful of that because, and this is why I said the comments part, because accepting track changes and deleting comments are two different steps.
Yep.
So don't think that just because you've accepted track changes, you've also deleted the comments. You need to do them both.
And also a lot of, especially people new to Microsoft Word who haven't really used that part of it, the review tab before, you can hide those. So you might hide them and then never unhide them and see that they're there. But when I open it up, they're not hidden on my Word. So make sure you're checking the review tab and expanding everything so you can see what's there, because you might not know your critique partners are leaving those comments for you, or you just might have hid them to help your reading experience and completely forgot to get rid of them.
And I'm not going to lie, I'm going to read every single comment.
Oh, I do too.
I mean, and then what's going to happen is I'm going to become more interested in the comments than I am in the book.
For me, I really love to see like the kind of feedback people give too, and then just to see what's kind of incorporated. So I'll do like a quick scan and then I'll delete. If I'm still interested, I'll delete them and go back and start over. But I think it's a step to take. You don't want me to see those.
No, you don't.
Yeah. So I think our first 3 points really kind of lend themselves to our fourth one, but polish. Make sure that you're reading through and everything is looking good to you, like you said, that you're feeling confident and making those quick tweaks if you want to make them, because you can't do that later on, or you can, but it's not okay.
Yeah, the one word I hate when anybody sends me a manuscript, whether it's a query or a client, is the word draft. I never, ever want to see a draft. Oh, my light went out. This is terrible. Wait, I can plug it in.
I'm leaving this whole part in the video.
I'm back with light. Okay. So anyway, without light, I talked about the word draft. So yeah, I just, to me, a draft is something you send to your critique partners. A draft is not something you send to your agent or your editor.
It's a mindset thing. We've said that several times, but it really is a mindset thing.
Yeah, but it's also that it is a mindset, but it's also that, I need to read the very best thing you're sending. And if you think of it as a draft, then you don't feel like it's the very best thing you're sending. You think it's still a work in progress.
You touched on our fourth point in the very beginning of the video, and I was kind of like, no, wait for that one.
Oh,
But
sorry.
the synopsis. So most agents
Oh.
will ask for a synopsis, and most writers will have that. But there are a lot of writers that don't and don't even think to write one. It's a necessary evil, and you should definitely have it before you send that submission.
Yeah, and I would consider writing it alongside the manuscript.
Right.
You know, a synopsis isn't every single moment in the book. It's really those big moments. And it's those big moments that build the character, build the plot, and also show the hook. So what I would say is not when you're writing every single scene, but when you get to a point in the book where you're moving on to sort of the next big thing, then maybe put that first big thing in your synopsis.
Right.
And
or
then
you break it down by chunks. So like every 50 pages you write, just go back and write it through. And you can revise it. It's not final. You can revise it when you're done revising your book, but just to help chip away at it, because it's less daunting when you're doing it the way you're saying.
absolutely. And I have to say, it's a real pet peeve of mine. When I request material, I request a synopsis along with the manuscript. And I feel really annoyed and slated when an author just doesn't bother to send the synopsis, because I use that. I don't know about you. I never read the synopsis first. I always dig into the book first, but I go back to the synopsis, or I will refer to the synopsis sometimes as I'm reading.
Yes, I'm more like a simultaneous kind of guy.
Yeah.
I think that it could also make or break whether I keep reading.
Oh, 100%, which is why if I don't get it, I'm often like, well, then it's just a rejection, because I'm not compelled enough to keep reading. And the fact that you weren't willing to do all of the work indicates to me that if the book itself needs edits, you might not be willing to do all of the work.
Agreed. I agree. Yeah, it's just not it's not your best presentation. We keep saying that, but
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like if you're asked on a job interview to bring a resume and samples of your writing, and you think, I'm not going to bother with the resume, I'll just bring samples of my writing. Well, as a job, somebody who's hiring you, that immediately says that no matter what I ask you to do, you're going to do whatever you want. And that's not to either of our benefits.
that's a good point. Okay, so our last point is more a tip, but it's to add it to your tracking.
Yes.
Because, again,
Well, if you're not tracking, this is a good time to start.
yes, because it's a very big process querying. There are a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of dates to remember, and you can rely on your email search bar for that, but you've got to have some sort of organization. We just started using Airtable.
I knew I was going to say it. I knew you were going to say it.
I was gonna say it, yeah. I think Airtable should start paying me, frankly, for
They
how
really
much I
should.
talk about it.
Are you going to tag them in this?
We should. I'm just gonna post it to Twitter at Airtable. No, but I think Airtable could really be game changing for a querying author. Just the way that you can put the dates and sort by agency, sort by anything. You can sort by the date that you originally send it. This way you know when to follow up. You can do batches. There's so much you can do with it.
For people who don't know what Airtable is, it's an online platform for databases.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people, James included, used Excel for years as the database to track everything at BookEnds. And during these times, this pandemic times, we're making a lot of changes and always looking to do things better. And once Airtable was discovered, many of us have never turned back. And I was never an Excel fan. I always thought it was very clunky for data tracking. It's great for numbers, but for information tracking, I don't feel it's as good. And Airtable is a life changer.
Right, and I think that for an author, you can really track. You can track every part of the process: the agent, the agency, their email, the dates that you've sent them, what they require, dates you get to follow up, responses, everything. So I think, and if you use Excel, whatever your system is, make sure that this submission that you're sending gets on your tracking. And I would also go so far as to say, add the submission guidelines from the agency to that so that you know, okay, it's been 12 weeks now, I can finally follow up.
Yeah, and then I would add notes that if you are rejected, did the agent say anything that could be valuable for writing your next book? And even just personal thoughts, is this an agent that you would want to submit to again, or would you want to try somebody else? All of that could be in there so that with your next book, you have all of that information at your fingertips to access all over again.
Agreed. Yes. So that's our list. Airtable, don't forget to send us a check. Well, we hope it was helpful. If you have any other tips for your fellow querying authors, make sure to put them down below in the comments. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.
Bye. Good luck.